Welcome to day three of. Oh, I forgot something. See, it's daylight savings time. It's just killing me. Welcome to day three of surviving daylight savings time. And I'm just gonna have to get creative here because I forgot my straining jar. So I'm gonna put my nectarines in with my blueberries. They might have a fight. I don't know how it's gonna go down, but it's gonna happen. Man, no joke about surviving daylight savings time, though. It is ravaging my mind and body. I was doing okay yesterday. I was doing all right yesterday. Um, and then I wasn't. Then I really wasn't. And then this morning I woke up and it was like already 8 o'clock. And I was like, like groggy zombie morning person. And I'm not that person. Usually when I'm up, I'm up. Like when I already wake up. Um, but but yeah, so I'm like very legitimately like, welcome to the morning three of daylight savings time, and you can still see it on me. I'm rebrewing yesterday's Nepali Platinum Needle. Usually I've already made this into 2 or 3 brews by the end of yesterday, but did not occur. So I'm gonna use her again. Morning, everybody. Um, but yeah, I got a lot done yesterday outside in the garden. I got an old garden bed. Like I dug up all of the lemon balm and the violets and the buttercup flowers coming up, and then I moved them out of the way. And then I tractor dumped in a ton of new soil and built up this big hill, basically. And then I replanted everything back. I also got a bunch of perennial Scottish onions and leeks planted that I hope will just take over the hill as well. And then I got some of my tree collards and kale planted because it's time. They aren't happy in the greenhouse. It's getting too warm in there for them. So I planted those out, and they look happy this morning. They weren't happy when I planted them yesterday, but they look okay this morning. They're all like, yes, right. Um, and then I scraped more mud, um, and then my stomach hurt, and I was like, huh. I'm not a person who has stomach problems often. Um, and then my body decided that the best way to like deal either with daylight savings time and or the last little bit of the sinus infection that I've cleared out was to like empty all contents of my body. And I hate when that happens. It's like, you know, my husband last night was like, hamburgers are done. I'm like, oh god. But then I felt better and I felt fine. Sometimes I don't stop it if I have a stomach ache because my body is trying to get something out of me, right? But this morning I was like, that was much, body. That was much. So I woke up all daylight savings time is killing me. And I'm almost serious about it. Hey, everybody rolling in. I like when people tell me where they're from. People watching from all over. Um, yeah, it's really crazy how an hour of time change just on a clock, something so artificial, can just like screw you over, right? Like it's like, well, I have to be ready by 9 o'clock, but really that's 8 o'clock, and so I really need to be up by 6 o'clock because that's 7 o'clock, right? And then it's just a mind fuck. That's all there is to it. Um, but but yeah, I did get a lot done yesterday. It's starting to look like I'm doing something on purpose outside. At first, it just looks like chaos, right? Because there's just like piles of like dirt and mud, and I'm like, the people that built this house had a real affinity for putting down like the garden barrier fabric, and then a ton of rocks, and then dirt. And so I think I'm through to where I need to be, and then I hook onto some random big, huge piece of material in it. But what they don't realize is they always had problems with flooding in the backyard. Um, they don't realize that it was the black plastic they put down that really like allowed that to happen, right? Because it can't. They didn't even use like the gardening fabric that's like permeable. they use like the black like construction plastic. And I'm like, yeah, the water can't go anywhere, so it's just there. So I'm basically completely ripped apart what is essentially my front yard, but it's a big enough of a front yard that I can fit my tractor in it. But it's just it's chaos right now. It's still the castle of mud, right? But it's I planted out of bed yesterday, and that feels like I did something. But also, I've got it scraped off. I'm getting ready to build pathways. I'm doing all kinds of things, but probably, probably not today. I have some tree collards that I'm gonna get planted out still, and like a pot of good King Henry, and I'm gonna water the plants in the greenhouse. But I'm not gonna push my body today because I exited like 5 pounds of things from my body last night. So go easy. But yeah, so I'm here. I'm here, and I think that's important. I know it sounds crazy, but like in the past, like I'm not really pushing myself to be here, right? But also I'm like I can just show up and say I feel like shit, and that's okay. Not that I ever really hid being sick. It's really weird because it's not that I wasn't already human when I came on YouTube or Instagram or anywhere like that. I'm not like I don't know. I'm like I guess I just need to be even more human. But I already talk about this stuff. I already talk about being sick and bodily functions and things like that because we're all human. But maybe talking about it in the moment that it's happening is what makes it feel more real, right? Like, um, but anyhow, oh, and I got a new tea yesterday, and I need to get my kettle doesn't go cool enough water temperature wise. I know that sounds funny, but I need to be able to measure the water temperature, and I'm pretty excited about that. But so I've been shopping around and maybe might just get like a thermal gun, but then I don't know. You don't want to use like I don't suggest using like a kitchen pot that you cook with to make your tea water because believe it or not, no matter how well you scrubbed it, there is still like taste molecules left in there, so it can make your tea taste weird, you know. But I'm excited about the concept of, buying a fancy specific tea kettle. This is pretty fantastic. I like this one. But it's not literally meant necessarily for like specifically tea, and I can get a tea kettle that is meant for like green and white teas and the scale of temperature range that I can make it do, but I just can't quite. It'll take me a few weeks to talk myself into justifying the cost of something like that. But the good news is because I talk about stuff on my YouTube channel and I have to pay taxes on the money I make from my YouTube, it's a deduction. So it's a little easier to talk myself into it because I'm like, I can buy the kettle, and if I link it in my Amazon, like what I use affiliate link thing, it's not actually my Amazon shop. Like it's not my stuff in there. Mine's all on my personal website. But then if you buy it and I make like $2 of commission, that's like proof that it was like something that I could use as a deduction, right? Um, but yeah, I am looking forward to like a week from now when my body has fully adjusted to daylight savings time, right? And it'll happen. Eventually, I won't try to do the time math in my head where I'm like, okay, it says it's 9 o'clock, but it's really 8 o'clock. I'm like, it says it's 8 o'clock, but it's really 7, right? And eventually, you kind of just stop doing that and you look at the time. But yeah, it does help if you have the capacity to just spend your day outside doing things because there's no clocks out there and you're just kind of existing. But then it's weird when you get inside and you're like, it's already 8 o'clock, or it's already whatever o'clock. We're already. Why isn't dinner done already? Right? Um, but on the flip side, I struggle with that too because I rely on dark time to tell me that it's time to make dinner. Right, but in the summertime, you're like, wait, have we eaten? It's like 9:45 and it's still light out because where I live, sometimes in the peak of summer, it doesn't really get dark until like 10 o'clock. So it's time is weird, man. Time is weird. mm. Anyhow, so I am really enjoying this tea, and I thought to myself, oh, well, I think it often, like, I don't know, like I feel like this little tiny miniature cup makes it medicinal. Cause like, I'm drinking at best a small cup of tea, right? And then I take it in in small amounts, and I know the tannins that are in this tea will help me stop going to the bathroom and everything else like that. But I don't know, it's so much more intentional when it's a little tiny cup. I know that I could just pour this into a normal cup. People have said that, they're like, why don't you just get a normal? I use a normal teacup. And I'm like, you can, but it's just not as special. There's no like, I don't know. I like the little bits of pouring. I love sharing something like this with my husband, and we'll just sit there and share a little pot of tea. You know, it's very, it's far more intentional, right? It's different. It's you're sipping, you're tasting, you're feeling, you're not overdoing it either. Um, like with normal tea or normal coffee, like it's really easy to just glug something down in another cup and then glug something down. Whereas we can use this little tea set, and it feels like we've had many cups of tea, and we have, but they're mini. That was an awesome wordplay. That was cool as shit. um, but yeah, so today somebody asked they missed the flavor I was drinking today. This is just a rebrew of the Nilgiri platinum needle. Nilgiri platinum needle. Now, some people, if you go to look at these higher end teas that I've been drinking lately, you get put off by the price for sure. But you have to remember when you're brewing it the way I do, in the day, I can brew this three, maybe four more times, right? And it changes flavor each time. You'll get different notes, different tastes, different astringency levels. Um, and I just really enjoy it. So it's like a little goes a long way if you're not just dumping it right out. Um, and it's just yeah, it's I don't know. I really like it. I've really fallen in love with tea, and I've always drank tea, but like herbal tisanes, like right. And I've always stayed away from caffeine because God knows my brain doesn't need to go any faster. But this doesn't do the same because of the L-theanine for me, right? It calms me down actually. Question: it's interesting that your pine bud oil, not home, forgot the exact name, is so great on blemishes, but they say not to put oil on your face if you have them. Well, that's a big misconception, right? First of all, I don't want you to put like rancid PUFA oil on your face, like like grape seed or like canola or any of that nasty type stuff. I'm using avocado oil, which is really low in polyunsaturated fatty acids. But also, did you know that like a dry face or like an oily face is a dry face, right? And they say that oil will cause it, but like your body needs oil on the skin. That's why people who like grab one of my tallow bombs or tallow creams or face oils, they're like, holy shit, this made my skin clear up and suddenly my face isn't oily. Well, you get into this nasty cycle to where you're like, oh, my face is oily or my face has acne. I need to wash my face with soap and water or whatever cleanser you're using. And then your body's like, it works so hard to put that oil onto your skin. I'm so dry and parched. So then it cranks out even more oil, which builds even more bacteria. But even if your skin isn't oily and you have a lot of acne, what's happening is you don't have enough oil. And so bacteria is able to get into your pores. Right. The oil on your face is meant to protect you from bacteria. And so it's just a vicious cycle that people get into. But that's why my blemish serum was able to help beyond the herbs that are in it. Right. Of course, because it's not just oil in that one. I've got like, yarrow, pine, all kinds of things in there that are amazing. But learning the difference between like what actually oily skin is and why like I don't use soap on my face or any cleanser in any way shape or form besides warm water. I just use warm water on my face, and I use my serums or my face creams like I don't know, in the winter I use them maybe once every 2 or 3 days, because I've been balanced out for years, right? And that's because it's dry here in the wintertime. In the summertime I use them if I kind of get a little bit too much sun, right? But but no, like I don't have acne. I don't have blackheads. I don't have blemishes. I have a lot of freckles, which some people think those are imperfections, but they can kiss my ass. I like my freckles. But yeah, someone says tea upsets my stomach. Um, yeah, the tannins in teas can upset your stomach, but a lot of the time, if I'm being honest, most people when they're brewing like green or white tea, there's two things happening. You have probably a really low quality tea, which makes it really high in tannins, and then you're probably making your water way too hot, which just pulls out tannins, and that's a recipe for dry mouth, stomach ache, all kinds of stuff like that. Tea is actually like true tea from the Camellia sinensis. I always say that name wrong. Plant is actually really amazing for your gut microbiome. And Woo Mountain Tea, WU Mountain Tea, he has a really cool YouTube channel, and he has this one that video that deep dives into the amazing benefits of tea for gut health. But again, it's not going to come from too hot of water or like really lower quality teas. And I like white teas the best. To me, I feel like they have the least amount of tannins. They also have the least amount of naturally occurring fluoride. They can be relatively high in caffeine, but you brew them at a really low temperature, so you're getting more of the L-theanine than you are of the caffeine. And I'm also leaning heavily into like shade grown type teas, so it'll have way more L-theanine and way lower caffeine, and I'm pretty excited about that. Question: how long can you let used leaves sit until they mold? Well, technically, if you're a purist, you're supposed to use them like within the day. But I, in the beginning, have gone like 2 or 3 days. But I'm like covering it with boiling, or well, not boiling. I'm covering it with hot water. But sometimes I pop it in the fridge if you're worried about it, you know. But usually you're supposed to just like rebrew the same amount for the day. But you could easily save it in your fridge, and you could probably get away with next day. This is next day, and it's not going to kill me, you know. Um, but yeah, some people can also just be really sensitive to tannins, you know, which like raspberry leaf would also hurt your stomach. Anything that's like high in tannin levels, it's drying. Um, but yeah, okay, so somebody said I've got the same routine as you do for many years. A little rosacea when dealing with stress, and your serum is awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. Question: I have the subscription elderberry and lion mane. Is that okay still to take pregnant? If not, do you recommend another one to switch to? Well, so you've got the rose. Which one is it? You said the elderberry and lion mane. So the elderberry one should be fine. The lion's mane that's mixed with rosemary is a mint. Mint can kind of be problematic during pregnancy because she could make your uterine contract. But it's such a small amount. It's like a food level amount. But I might make sure if I was doing that, maybe to only take one of the rosemary lion's mane like every couple days. That way you don't build up um, the level of rosemary in your system the way as if you were taking it every day. Because again, my formulas are microdose, but I wouldn't suggest getting any normal rosemary capsules where it's like high extract or anything like that. But I mean, plenty of pregnant women are like eating rosemary in their food. Right, you just don't want to like double down on it. The elderberry and turkey tail should be fine. Those are both food based, but you know, pay attention to your body, see how it makes you feel. Um, okay, yes, spring has sprung with a vengeance. In some areas, they really really have. And I'm like, I heard froggies yesterday while I was outside, you know, doing stuff, and I was like, I hear you, friend. I hear you. You know, waking up. Now I've heard my first frog about 3 weeks ago. Not my first frog ever, but I heard my first frog go ribbit in the spring. But he sounded so cold. He was like it took him effort to be like ribbit. I was like, you're too cold, friend. But now they're starting to really speed up the sound of the ribbit they're making. Um, but yeah, I am. I'm pretty happy about that. Anything that I can use to get rid of gallstones. There's a tried and true method of like people using like apple cider vinegar in the morning, but make sure it's really high quality vinegar. I like it because it's going to stimulate the situation. It can break apart stones. But some people combine that with like lemon water, so you could do like vinegar one day, lemon water the next day, vinegar, lemon. Also, olive oil, real olive oil though. Oh my God, the industry of olive oil is so like corrupted. So like make sure you do research on what olive oil you're going to buy, because it could just be a little bit of olive oil and then a bunch of rancid like seed oils added, right? It's a huge issue in the industry. So make sure that it's a real olive oil, or likely will do more harm than help. But real olive oil has been used for a long time to break up gallstones, and mixing them with lemon and vinegar would be a good like synergistic combination to help clear out the sludge and the stones from your gallbladder. Yes, when the first frogs sing, it's, I don't know. I'm like, we have survived, right? Because they're cold blooded and they don't wake up. They don't come out of their little mud hibernation here until the soil is warm enough. And so I was kind of like gaslighting myself yesterday. I was like, you can't plant out these collards and stuff yet. It's too cold. As I heard the frogs sing, I'm like, the frogs say otherwise. But to be fair, the collards and the kale that I did plant out are all like really, really hardy varieties. Like the one, it's like a Michigan kale. It's good down to -15, which we do get colder than that here in the winter sometimes, but not right now. It's maybe going to drop into the low 20s at some point in the next few weeks, if I had to guess. But that's not too bad. She'll survive that. But so somebody said, "Can I come to your farm to help learn about herb business? I'm in a Walla Walla starting an herb business." When I first bought this place, it's been 4 years now. When I first bought this place, also hi from Walla Walla. She's like right near me. Um, when I first bought this place, I had intentions of opening up the Dinner Solene's Cooking Farm, a place where people could learn for free, could like come and learn and all this stuff. Um, and then like I bought this place in like the end of 2019, and then 2020 happened, and then like I blew up. Like I was already like pretty big online and already had a mouth and everything, but like it's to the point where like it's not safe for me to have people come to my home. Like I get like regular death threats. Have a stalker, like a real stalker, like FBI involved contact stalker. Thankfully he lives in a different country, but he does come to the US sometimes. But I so unfortunately it made me really pivot. But I do plan on doing more meet and greets, and if you didn't join me at either last year, I had both in the Walla Walla Park there at like Rooks Park. My brain says, man, not a bit of Rooks. The big park over there on the other side of like Bennington Lake, right? Harris Park. My brain is not gonna grab onto it. It's not Harris. Harris is outside of Milton Freewater. I think it's Rooks Park, but yeah, it is. I don't know. I maybe in the future when things calm down, but I would like to do more in person meet and greets, and I have been working pretty hard to get the apothecary off of my lap. In the way that like I'm getting help making things like my synergism capsules, my mouth mud, my pit goop, my creams. I'm working on getting all this help. So eventually, the only thing I'll use my apothecary for is videos and R&D, which is research and development. That way I can decide like what I'm making, and I might be able to give classes at that point, but ideally eventually I'm just here existing, and I'm just like here with you and teaching because I love to create things, and it is solely how I support my ability to exist and teach freely and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, like I really would prefer to be like teaching freely. So I've been working hard. This past year it has been a really hard transition, because for a long time the apothecary ended up eating me alive, right? Um, that must be scary as hell to have a stalker. Yeah, it has been like at first it was worse on me like psychologically, right? Like, and it started get this. It started in 2020 when this guy who stalks me, he stole my writing and pasted it as his, and he's from a different country, and somebody follows me in that country. Like I have followers all over the world, right? And they were like, "Hey, this guy is taking your writing and like pretending like it's his," right? And I would have never noticed because He's just like some little tiny nobody. I say that with, I mean, I hope that hurt him. No, but I am, he stole my writing, and when I confronted it on, he like freaked out, and he like made it his mission, because I was like, hey, at first I was like, hey man, this isn't cool, just go ahead and take that down. He's like, you don't own this writing, anybody can use it. And I was like, fine. So I just like posted about it on my social media, which meant like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people were like, hey man, you're taking her work, what the fuck. And then from there, he has just made it his personal mission to try to like, first it started with like smear campaigns where he would like make a fake account pretending to be like a review like platform of me, and like saying that I was melting people's flesh off, that I was injuring them, that I'm a horrible person. He was making, and it was funny because we caught him. He was using all these like pictures from Wikipedia saying that I had like melted somebody's flesh. I'm like, my guy, this is from Wikipedia, because you can look up an image. I don't know if you need to know that. But then he started like sending like threatening emails, you're gonna be shut down, and then it got to the point where he was like using Google Earth to find like images of homes that I used to live in, because when you're a business you have to register this type of thing. And he would send me like screenshots of like, oh, I know where you live. And then it started this year, actually technically last year, he started saying things like he was going to kill my kids, and that he like found out where I live now. Right. And so that's when we finally had to take all of it and go to the FBI, because he lives in a different country. And so, but it's not just him. Once I published my book about the dangers of essential oils, called Essentially Deadly: The Unspoken Dangers of Essential Oils, first really big book of its kind, I get death threats about once a week, especially when it was first coming out, when I was talking about it like a lot. And so yeah, it's $1 billion industry. So if I ever like suddenly die from an accident, or if I ever take my life, no, just want you to know, no. And so, yeah, it has made, like, I wouldn't know who I could trust, like, coming here. And we're even to the fact that the point where we're discussing moving, right? Because he does know where I live. He wouldn't have a good time if he showed up. Like, it wouldn't, like, this guy's like 4'9" and like and I'm not saying that short people can't hurt people, but like he would just, my dog, like I have like Caucasian shepherds, like they are like, my male, he's like in the 200-pound range of a dog. And and so he would just have a really bad time if he showed up. But yeah, anyhow, it has been, I feel, what's weird is I start sometimes, like I felt yuck when I started this. I'm like, welcome to day 3 of surviving daylight saving times. But as I talk and as I share and as I sip tea, I start feeling like vitality roll back into me. And there's something about that, and I think that it's not just the tea, but it's like community. And even though we're just talking in like we're just talking in the comment section, I can't hear you back, and it's just me talking at myself, like if you were here and I was talking this much, it would be really overwhelming and seem unfair, because you wouldn't get a word in otherwise, right? But it's healthy, and I miss it. I think as a society, like we've had it like broken away, and like I don't know, it makes my brain happy to be able to just free flow talk. And you guys will throw a question at me or something, and I'll just like bounce to here and I'll bounce to there. um but so somebody said, Essentially Deadly is one of my favorite books of all time. Thank you so much. It was, I at some point I'm gonna release like a volume 2, like where like an updated version where I add in more stuff. It felt like a really really important book to write. So if anybody does want to support my capacity to just be a human here with you, to talk freely, to make random videos and talk about crazy shit, Ford T, mortgage, that kind of stuff, consider becoming a member. It's just a way to throw me a few bucks a month. You do get early access to videos that I post. If you can't afford to become a member, don't worry, because the videos will always be posted on a weekend. It's been Saturday lately, and I don't want you to feel like you won't be able to see anything, that it's not behind a paywall at all. Somebody asked if I have been mewing. I have not been mewing. No. I luckily am already a nose breather my whole life, and I already have my tongue is always already resting in that position. So like I never got braces, right? I don't. I know people are like, "Oh my god, your teeth are so fucked up," and I'm like, I don't care. Like I know I have. I only have two crooked teeth, but they're very crooked on the side. But people are like, "Do you have two rows of teeth?" And I'm like, "No." Um, but anyhow, I've not been mewing. But anyhow, if if you can't afford to become a member, I don't want you to feel like something is hidden behind a paywall. Also, if you'd like to check out the things I make, you can follow the link in my bio or probably a pinned comment once this has been uploaded to Wildwood Apothecary, my shop, where I make all kinds of synergism capsules. There's something for everybody. There's pit goop, there's mouth mud, a little bit of tinctures to choose from, and I know a lot of people that have been following me are used to a huge amount of variety when I do shop updates, but I'm working on like getting help making things, and so it takes me time to like get one thing made. I do have in the future, like in the next like handful of weeks, two new flavors of mouth mud coming out. I've got my charcoal mouth mud, which people have tried and loved before, but I'm getting that made in a big batch, and a peppermint one with real peppermint, not essential oil, like actually ground and powdered peppermint. And then I've got a new synergism capsule coming that's like called Land plus C plus B. It's a mineral synergism capsule that I'm really excited about. But all that stuff is really helpful for supporting my capacity to teach freely. If you can't afford to do anything like that, it's okay. You can also like, comment, share, turn on notifications. Sharing is super helpful because it helps other people find me and my work, and it helps them realize that they're smart enough to take their health back in their hand and just be a real human, and you don't have to be any certain type of way to practice herbalism in your life in any way. So, anyhow, I'm at 30 minutes. I'm going to wrap up my tea, and then I'm going to do a little bit of stuff outside, but I'm probably going to take it easy, and I will see you tomorrow, folks. Bye.